Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne is a weird game. Hello everybody, I am Jmulls of Jmulls Gaming, and I decided to try out SMT as a franchise because I fell in love with Metaphor ReFantazio so much. I was a big Persona fan, and I still am, but I fell in love with the combat in Metaphor ReFantazio, with the press turn system, a system that finds its origins in Shin Megami Tensei, and because I wanted more of that combat, I wanted more of that juicy goodness, I decided to try out Shin Megami Tensei all over again. You see, I had played a little bit of SMT 5 back on the Switch when it first came out, but I bounced off of the game because I found boss design to be far too repetitive and formulaic. But since I hear nothing but great things about Vengeance, I decided let's try out 3 Nocturne and 5 Vengeance, and I began my journey with Shin Megami Tensei with the third game, Nocturne specifically. I played the HD remaster, but the original game came out, I believe, in 2003, at least according to Google searches. This is a game that has been a roller coaster of emotions, and I want to point out that this isn't my review of SMT3. I am right at the final fight. It's the only thing I have left. I've gotten all of the Magatama, including Masakatos. I've done the Labyrinth of Amala. We're locked in for the true demon ending. I just have to fight the Disco Ball and Lucifer to wrap up the game. That is all I have. So this will essentially be a 2-part mini-series for SMT3. I'm going to try and get my actual analysis of the game done in this video, and then I'm going to unload when I actually beat the game, because this game has hurt me, and I'm going to save all the vitriol, all of the emotion for that video when I beat the game, which will likely be tomorrow's video. But before we get there, I want to actually just put on my critic hat and talk about SMT3, the pros and cons, and the weird state I find myself in regards to this game, because did I enjoy it? To a degree, yes, because there's a few key elements that this game gets so right that I think makes it memorable and so lasting. The combat with the press turn system, having turn icons, and you spend them on various actions until you run out, and then the enemy gets to go and vice versa. It's a very simple gameplay loop and process, but for turn-based combat, produces some of my favorite, combat I've ever played in the turn-based style. I am a fan, I'm a stan. I love the press turn system, and I love the combat in SMT3. There's another element to SMT3 that I think it does extremely well, and that's the overall vibe of the game. The post-apocalyptic hellscape of Tokyo. Post-conception. The end of the world has already happened, you play as the Demi-Fiend, and essentially this grand race against a whole bunch of other forces that are trying to remake the world in their image. What path do you choose? There's multiple different endings. Or do you choose to descend the world into chaos in your own image? Of course that's the one I'm going for, come on. It's a cool game, and all of these post-apocalyptic and nihilistic themes that the game propagates throughout are juxtaposed with pretty engaging and colorful characters. And the demons are genuinely pretty fun to interact with, as the dialogue and the overall localization for this game just has a bunch of fun with it. And it creates a vibe that I think is especially unique for SMT3, but I do think it works exceedingly well and is thoroughly engrossing for me. I love the combat and I love the aesthetic, and I'm okay, I like the story. It doesn't blow me away at anything, the actual story beats that happen, but I think they are rather interesting, and while the game isn't as story intensive or as focused as, say, Persona, it's not meant to be. It's a different style, a different flair, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think in these big moments that the game has throughout, especially ones that involve character death, they feel a bit too anticlimactic. Like they just kind of happen and then you move on from it. It's fine, don't get me wrong. It will be some people's cup of tea, just kind of misses the mark for me, even though I think the overall story is still rather compelling and interesting. And I think one of the best elements to SMT3 is not just the combat, it's not just the aesthetic, it's not how cool the story is overall, or how great the soundtrack is, because the soundtrack in this game is incredible. It's the customization and the build variety you have available to you with the demon system. Very similar in style to, say, creating personas in Persona. However, they're your party members. so you gain a lot more customization and flexibility in what your party brings to the table as a direct result of that. It's not just a matter of, oh, which of your classmates are you going to bring along this time? No, I can create an entire persona to fit the specific niche that I want for the specific party member to fill, and you can do that if you know how to build. I generally go for physical. I run into issues because of that, but I can also make backup characters or backup demons to have on the bench that are more magic focused, so if I run across enemies that repel physical or whatever, I can swap them out for my magic squad and just go full beans with it. It's a great level of customization and build variety for my party members, but also for the MC, the Demi-Fiend, or as I call them, J-Demi-Fiend, because there's another system in this game called Magatamas. They are essentially collectibles that you equip to your main character. They have different strengths and weaknesses, they give you different stat bonuses, and as you level them up, they give you different abilities, and the idea is that you're supposed to cycle through the ones you really care about and the ones you want to make a specific build all of your own. It's a really cool system, and you collect these through various boss fights you might find throughout the world, or through various vendors or quests and stuff like that. It's a really cool system. I am genuinely impressed with the customization and build variety and how it flows seamlessly into the actual combat in this game. It's a ton of fun, especially if you love to get into the nitty-gritty of turn-based RPGs. You can make some absolutely busted builds. It's one of the reasons I love the press turn system, is because the game can be overwhelming and relentless to you, but if you know how to interface with the game, you know how to build your characters, you know how to apply buffs and debuffs and maintain them, and apply pressure all of your own, you can feel like a force to be reckoned with and turn the tables and feel like this god of death and war that has descended upon this mortal plane to wipe the slate clean and burn it down, and it feels so dang good when you're able to do that, because when you play the game well, you borderline feel as if you're cheesing it, but you're playing it as intended, and that is such a rewarding and fun experience to me. And there's another bit of design in this game that I think is exceedingly clever and that I kind of wish more turn-based games would elect to utilize. I don't know if it's specific to the HD remaster or for Nocturne specifically or whatever, but there's a fast travel system in this game with the save nodes. You go there, and there's 2 locations at the bottom of the list that throughout the main story you never go to. They are specific instanced areas that are meant for farming, one of which is for XP, where certain mobs that you'll find with regularity will drop books. Thin books provide like 1/5 of an XP bar, and thick books will just fill an XP bar, so all you need to do is go into another fight, because all you need is like 1 XP left to tick over to the next level, you level up, and then you can apply another thick book or another 5 thin books, or whatever you need. It is a great farm system, especially in a game that is known for its difficulty. We'll get to that. What this system allows you to do is grind at a really reasonable pace to get what you specifically want. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. I've only done it really twice. Now, right before the final fight, and once right before Matador. But you can just like pop right on in, kill a few mobs, get a few extra levels that you need, and you're good to go. What this does is prevent the feeling of ever having to be underleveled, because you can just pop in here for like 5 to 10, maybe even 30 minutes, and get what you need. Heck, 30 minutes is extreme. You'll get a lot of levels by doing it like that. And there's another location that serves the same purpose of being this available farm spot, but for money, called Maka in this game. There, they drop various different bulls, but they also go up in value, and you can farm quite a bit of money just by doing that. So if you want to get a bunch of money to do a bunch of fusions to augment your team, you can pop in here for a few minutes, get what you need, and then leave. It's a great system. More often than not, when I find turn-based JRPGs, grinding can be one of the worst elements because it's so repetitive and monotonous, but they accelerate it here. And we talk about all the time, or at least I talk about all the time when it concerns Atlus games, and especially when it concerns Persona, because that's my wheelhouse. One of the things you can do with Atlus is judge exactly what they deem to be an issue or what they deem to be an inherent strength of a game by what they choose to do and how they choose to iterate on a specific system in the next game they put out in that franchise. Going from Persona 3 to Persona 4, they changed the way dungeons work. work. So instead of having one giant thing with Tartarus, it's now a bunch of smaller dungeons that still play somewhat the same, but they feel far more bite-sized and palatable compared to Tartarus. Social links, the hangout events with various characters Persona is famous for. In Persona 3, not every member of C's, your main party, had a social link, or at least it depended on the version of the game you were playing. And for a good long while, you just didn't unlock your main party social links till way later in the game. And in Persona 4, they smooth out that pacing a lot. Every member has a playable social link, even the guys. And the moment they come into your party, like that next operation that you do in-game, you can then start their social link. It's a far smoother progression curve compared to P3. Go to P5 and they completely redo dungeon design to be more of an experience, more of a theme park of various things to do, more spectacle, and they add more abilities that you can acquire based on the specific rank in the social link, now called Confidants, that you acquire in Persona 5. Those are just a couple of elements, but if you analyze Persona like that, you can see exactly what Atlus deemed to be a problem or deemed to be a good thing going from game to game chronologically in release order. From what I hear, they also do that when it comes to Shin Megami Tensei. And for me, this can produce a problem going back to play older Atlus games because you're essentially going back and experiencing Atlus during their learning curve and having a game with various elements that haven't aged all that well. Because everything I hear about SMT5 Vengeance, to me, at least for members of my chat, follows this idea. Because almost every significant issue that I have with SMT3 apparently is addressed with 5 Vengeance. Because I have a laundry list of complaints when it comes to SMT3. And it's because of these complaints I don't think I'll ever really revisit this game, because there's an inherent design philosophy behind this game that I fundamentally disagree with. And I want to talk about it here today before I emotionally unload all the pain this game has brought onto my conscience and my entire psyche in tomorrow's video. Shin Megami Tensei 3, and the thing I disagree so heavily with in terms of its overall design philosophy, is what it deems to be difficulty. I don't view it to be difficulty, I view it to be punishing. There's a difference. I am playing SMT3 Nocturne on normal mode, and within that scope, I would not call it a difficult game. The game has a simple flowchart in how it wants you to approach combat. You have to know debuffs and buffs, and you have to know how to manage them. The game gives you this initial wall with Matador, and you are not passing that fight in a reasonable way without understanding this concept. How to apply buffs, how to apply debuffs, how to manage them, and then how to maintain them. Once you understand that agility is king, once you understand how important these buffs and debuffs are, and you just make sure that you're always putting them up when you're coming across a difficult fight, you're good. Most of the fights will roll over if you know that. There's only been a couple of pain points in this game, particularly in the latter half, that are just more RNG than anything. But if you know that philosophy, most of the fights, like the vast majority of this game, will roll over if you're level appropriate. Because dodging or repelling or blocking attacks is so powerful in this game because it chews through enemy turn orders. What's better than taking a little damage? Taking no damage at all. It's something that I learned in Metaphor Fantasio with the press turn system there, and something that still reigns supreme in SMT3. The problem I run into is a couple. This can lead to stale fight design where a lot of fights feel sort of the same, because while they may have their own intricacy or a little bit of nuance here and there, a lot of it does just kind of devolve to apply buffs, debuffs, heal up when you need to, manage your MP, and then just attack the enemy. Some enemies will spam like Dragon's Eye or Beast Eye, which gives them even more press turn icons. That's just annoying, especially when an enemy gets like +4 or gets even more than that somehow. It's just really dang annoying. But especially in the latter half, because I don't notice this a lot in the first half of this game, but there's a point in this game where afterwards, the way they do difficulty is just RNG BS. And it's a lot of one-shot mechanisms, or things that just inherently screw you over. It's essentially a knowledge check, and if you don't know that knowledge prior to fighting the fight, it's a dice roll if you're gonna actually get over it. Beelzebub one-shotting you, same thing with Metatron, or just fights at a giant sacks of HP and then just take forever to get through. It's not difficulty, it's punishment, because when you die, this game doesn't have an autosave, it doesn't have a manual save anywhere in the world. If if you die during a boss fight, it doesn't ask, do you want to try the boss again? It throws you back to your last manual save. So say you fight an actual boss fight and you overcome that fight, but you get a random battle in the world, and something there decides to use a curse ability that just one-shots you. Do you feel good about that? Because I don't. It's a giant waste of my time because I now have to redo that boss fight. And generally speaking, design that wastes my time is solely and wholly off-putting to me. I don't find it fun, I don't find it engaging, I don't find it fun to overcome or strategize around. It's goddamn annoying. Especially in a game where if the MC dies, the whole run is over. Yes, SMT3 has that god-awful design that I hope all turn-based games just stop freaking doing. It doesn't make the MC feel more special or important, it just makes everyone else feel goddamn incompetent that they can't use my items to resurrect me if I die. It's also just annoying. There's a lot of design in this game that is designed not to be difficult, not to be challenging, but to be confusing or a waste of your time. All of the dungeon design in this game is crap. There's not a single dungeon in this game that I actually enjoy. Most of the gimmicks are essentially labyrinths or mazes, and you just have to figure out where to go or you get teleported all over the goddamn map. And random encounters are so frequent in this game that it becomes a war of attrition. So it's a combination of boss design that is largely repetitive and one-dimensional, or relies too much on cheese to add artificial difficulty that's just punishment in disguise, hoping to God to find a save terminal so you don't end up wasting more of your time if you get one banged out of nowhere. And you can equip things like Endure, or if you know a specific type of one-shot mechanic exists in a dungeon, you can equip a Megatama to nullify that one thing specifically, and then you just have to hope that the enemy doesn't go first and just unloads on MC, and you spend more time trying to alleviate what in my opinion is bad design and unfun design to a state of normalcy that doesn't actually create a compelling or engaging experience. It just makes me want to get over with it, to be done with it, not have to think about it again. I find design like this to be fully and wholly off-putting, and the game is covered in this design, especially in the second half, because I actually genuinely enjoyed this game for the first half of it. And then like half the enemies start to repel physical, bosses acquire one-shot mechanics, or just giant sacks of health, so it takes forever to get through them. Dungeon design is repetitive, extremely samey, like more samey than you think it'd be, but also none of it's fun, and it's a definition of difficulty that I fundamentally disagree with. It's random one-shot mechanics all the time that, like I talked about before, is meant to be a knowledge check rather than an actual skill check. So if you fail the knowledge check, you lose a bunch of progress and have to replay a giant chunk of the game, and I view that to be a waste of my time, and it's just annoying to me, and I find it off-putting. From what I've heard from my chat, SMT5 Vengeance forgoes a lot of this design. So in regards to that, it's kind of funny, the weird predicament I find myself in when it comes to SMT3 Nocturne, because I've never had a game where by itself I find it so wholly off-putting because of the philosophy behind a lot of its actual game design. But it's also hooked me into the franchise, and I want to play the next game, that's not 4 I guess because it's a 3DS game. I want to play SMT5 Vengeance so badly, because from the looks of it, it takes the elements of SMT3 that I genuinely love and appreciate, keeps those elements, and just removes a bunch of the design that I don't like in SMT3. So in this weird way, I find SMT3 to be a game I will never revisit in the future, or it's extremely unlikely for me to revisit unless it's like a remake and they change a bunch. Who am I kidding? I'd probably just play if it was another remake. But in its current form, I am likely to never replay SMT3 the moment I see credits. The moment Lucifer does go down, which he's going to go down because I'm busted at this point in game. I have like Masakados, I have Frey Kugel, I have Pierce, I have Endor, I have a bunch of busted demons, I have Dante from Devil May Cry, he's pretty cool actually. And I think there will be elements that I appreciate about this game and be glad that I played it, but I'll never want to replay it because I genuinely dislike large chunks of this game and would just groan time after time again if I revisit these parts of the game again. But I think it's fair to say, I like SMT. I'm so on board with Vengeance because of what we talked about before. That Atlus design philosophy where they go from one game to the next and go, what can we do better? And I know Vengeance is a couple of games later, but I'm looking at it and I'm salivating. I think in terms of all the Atlus games that I've played, it's safe to say SMT3 Nocturne. It's either my least favorite or it's like a little bit above Persona 5 Tactica. I can't decide. And I wouldn't say that I love the game or anything like that. I think I dislike it and like it in almost equal measure. It's a weird duality that I find myself in when it comes to SMT3 Nocturne. I think I'm glad that I played it because when I get to SMT5 Vengeance, I think I'm going to appreciate that game all the more because I played this game, and I think there's some value to that. So yeah, in this video, I just wanted to get done most of my analysis, my overall thoughts and opinions about SMT3, because let's be fair here, the final boss is not going to change my opinion anyway. I got into phase 2 of the disco ball, and that was before I became super busted in this game, so yeah, those are my thoughts on SMT3 Nocturne. I kind of got through a lot of my complaints in this video as well. Who knows, maybe a video of me yelling about how this game frustrated me could be fun. We might just still do that. But with that, I think I'll call the video there for the day. Thank you all for tuning in. If you want to see that video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. And if you want to join me on this next journey we'll find ourselves in with Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance, leave a like and subscribe and comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, hear your opinions, and hear your perspectives on Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne HD Remaster. Because these are just my opinions, and you don't have to agree with them, you don't have to believe in them, you don't have to hold them either. Let me know your thoughts, your opinions on this game. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you feel the same as me? Do you disagree? I'd love to hear your thoughts, hear your opinions, and hear your perspectives. Stay safe, have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody, until we meet again.